welcome to No Sevens Dice Club. It is that time of year again that half of y'all hate and half of y'all love in this channel, and it is college football season. And I love the comments I always get from you guys. You know, No Sevens, this is a craps channel. Well, if you were with me from the beginning, I've always did college football just to add it in there because I love college football. And it's my channel, so I'm making more college football video predictions. Last year, we went 47 wins, 29 losses, and 1 tie. I won all 3 months. So it was September, October, and November because December is really just championships and bowls, and I really don't do December. I make some predictions, but not a lot. I did week 0. I always wanted to do week 0. I did week 0, and week 0 had no sound. So I'm hoping I have sound. Hopefully so. If not, I'm going to be redoing this video. I went 1-1. Since it wasn't on the board, I didn't count it. I won the Notre Dame game against Navy. I took the points, and I lost on the USC game. And what can I say? USC's defense looks atrocious. Lincoln Riley has made USC look like when he was coaching Oklahoma. No defense, all offense. He's a great offensive coordinator, but he's no head coach. All right, getting off my soapbox. Let's dive into week 1 of 2023, and I'm hoping for another great season. Knock on the craps casino. I have never lost, or I haven't lost a season in a while. I think 2020 was a losing season, but I didn't count it because it wasn't a full season. So 2019 was a winning season, 2021 was a winning season, and 2022 was a winning season. As you can see, it was 47, 29, and 1. Hoping for another winning season. So let's dive right into week 1. Let's have some fun with it. And so we're going to go ahead and talk about the first game. All my times are in Central Standard Time. So we have the first game, because I'm shooting this on Wednesday, is Thursday, is August 31st. Tomorrow is Florida at Utah. Last year, Utah came down to the swamp and almost died because of the heat, because they're not used to the heat. Well, things have completely changed, and I don't want to hear about climate control and everything else. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about climate control. Florida is actually going up to Utah, and it's going to be hotter in Utah than it is in Florida at the swamp. How crazy is that? Like I said, don't want to hear about climate control, climate change, whatever else. Go hug a tree if you want to, but don't send me a climate control comment, because I'll just block you. So this is going to actually favor Florida. You know, I was thinking I was leaning towards Utah in this game, but with the heat, no humidity, but with the heat and everything else, Florida is more adapted to the heat. Utah is adapted, but they're not used to playing in the heat all the time. And from what I understand, Cam Rising is not going to be playing at Utah for this game. Some kind of medical injury, if I remember correctly. Billy Napier, this is the second year with Florida. The game is Florida plus 4.5 or Utah minus 4.5 as of right now when I'm shooting this video. I really like Florida in this. And what's interesting is that Utah came out before, even last year they said this, and it came out in the summer when this game was coming up to, and they said we got to be more physical. We weren't physical enough against Florida, and Florida says we need to be more physical against Utah. We weren't physical enough either. So they're both thinking that they just need to smash into each other. So this is going to be like an SEC game, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Utah does. Utah lost that game last year, so they have revenge on their mind. And after the game, we all thought Utah was done, but Utah came back and had a great season. I mean, they played lights out for a majority of their season. They kind of fell apart at the end, but I mean, they held it all to the end, and I was really impressed with Utah. And if you remember last season, I was picking Utah at the end and winning a lot of games with them. But with no Cam, and Florida's got a transfer quarterback, if I remember correctly, and he's got experience. So it's going to be quite kind of interesting to see how it goes because I know they have the other quarterback. I can't, like I said, I don't have my notes. So I'm just going to go ahead and make an outright pick. I like Florida to win this, and I'm going to take Florida plus 4.5. I think it's going to come down to about 2 or 3 point difference. And so if I'm taking Florida and you're going to give me 4.5, I might even bump it up to a 5. But if you give me the 4.5, I'm going to take Florida plus 4.5. All right, next up is September 2nd, which is Saturday at 11 a.m. So I have a couple of games at 11 a.m. that we're going to go over. And we're going to go over the 6:30 game that night later on. So we have 4 games that we're going to cover for 11 a.m. So let's dive right into it. I have 2 underdog picks. I usually put them down here at the bottom, but as you can see, I don't have room. I got a Sunday game and I got a Monday game down here, so I don't have room for them. You can't see it, but I have it down there. So the underdogs are going to be up at the top right here. So first up is Arkansas State Red Wolves at 11 a.m. versus Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma is minus 35.5 point favorites. If you remember, Arkansas State last year had a really good season. A lot of you don't know who Arkansas State is. You're probably grabbing your Google right now and you're doing a search to figure out even if Arkansas is even in the United States. And yes, they are. So Arkansas State will not win this game, but they are going to be very competitive. And I think that they're going to beat this point spread. Oklahoma is really not favored, and I know they have a new coach and everything else. Lincoln Riley's gone. But Oklahoma in general, over the past 20 years, has not really covered the spread that well. Oklahoma last year with their head coach, I can't think of his name right now. He came from Georgia, and I can't think of his name right now at all. But they did not cover spreads that well. They were a complete disaster. Arkansas State's got a great offense, and I really like Arkansas State to be the underdog to win with the point spread. Not to win the game, but to win with the point spread. So I really like Arkansas State plus 35.5. I think the game is going to be Oklahoma around 45. Arkansas State's going to be around 14 to 21 points, easily covering that point spread. That's who I like. So I'm going with Arkansas State plus 35.5. All right. I'm going to make sure next week I have my notes with me. I don't know where they went in this house. Okay, so next up is Fresno State, the Bulldogs, at Purdue Boilermakers. Well, if you know that Purdue, the head coach, left last year, he went somewhere else. Sorry, guys, I'm not prepared. I wrote all this stuff down. But anyway, so Purdue has a new head coach, and they had a lot of college transfers. They were trending up, but they lost everything. Their whole entire team got gutted pretty much. Fresno State, if you remember, every year they do really good. I mean, their team mascot is exactly who they are. They are a bulldog, and they will fight you tooth and nail. And Purdue is favored in this game, minus 3.5. I think Fresno State should be favored in this game. I really do like Fresno to come in and sneak out a victory, and I mean, I even think they're going to win the game pretty much. But if you're going to give me Fresno State minus plus 3.5, that's who I like for my other underdog pick, and I actually like them for the all-out win also. I expect them to come out very scrappy, very tenacious like they always do. I mean, Fresno State does not lie over for anybody. I mean, they could be facing Alabama, and they're going to give them everything that they can handle because they play with such passion and such heart for the game of football, and I really like that about Fresno. So let's go ahead and take Fresno plus 3.5. Okay, Next up is the East Carolina Pirates at the Michigan Wolverines. And guys, if you remember last season at the very end, that game, the college football finals was pretty good, with Michigan being in there. And, man, I'm not going to relive old memories, but Michigan is still loaded, still willing to compete for a national championship again this year. It's going to be interesting because old head coach, I won't mention names, is in a little bit of trouble. So if he's going to be suspended, now is the time that he is going to be suspended because he's playing East Carolina Pirates. Jake McCarthy, the quarterback, he's predicted to go high in the first round pick this year for Michigan. Really great kid. He plays for his team. He kind of reminds me of a young Rudy character, because he kind of looks like him too. But he plays with a lot of heart, a lot of emotion, and Michigan is going to be something to watch. And I always know it's Michigan and Ohio State, and man, Michigan, it's theirs to lose pretty much. They don't have the only one that's going to beat them is themselves pretty much this year is what I'm trying to say. Michigan is minus 36. I really like Michigan to come out and just pick up where they left off last year. Just guns blazing, great offense, great defense. In fact, I think they're going to be better than they were last year with the defense. So I'm really looking forward to this game. I really think that they're going to cover. I think East Carolina Pirates are going to pick up some garbage points at the very end of the game. Maybe 7, 10, the most 14 points. But I see Michigan scoring an easy 50 to 60 points in this game. Jake McCarthy is just going to light it on fire. I really do like him. And so I like Michigan minus 36. I wish it was plus 36. Take that all day long. Michigan minus 36. And if you guys are like, no sevens, why are you not mentioning the coach's name? Because I'm a Saints fan and he coached for the 49ers, okay? So I still have that old NFC South or NFC West rival still with me. We don't like the 49ers down here because of what Steve Young and Joe Montana did to the Saints. So I still hold a grudge against the 49ers, whether they're with the team or no longer with the team. So I don't mention his name. Anyway, moving on. All right, so I've been looking forward to this game almost as much as one of my other picks coming up. This is the second most anticipated game of the week for me. It's Colorado at TCU. All right, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute, so if you want to fast forward this for a second, you can. Deion Sanders, he leaves Jackson State University. I went to a couple games at Jackson State University. Great university. I love what they're doing. It's not far from my home. It's a 2.5 hour drive north. Wanted to see Coach Prime coach and everything else. Really good. Built a tremendous program. Really shocked that he went to Colorado. I know he's trying to make a splash. I know he's trying to make a name for himself. But I would not try to make a splash or anything else when you don't have that level of coaching skills just yet. And I might be completely wrong. Colorado is a dumpster fire, and it's always been a dumpster fire. And when you walk into the locker room and those players are just playing for the player next to them all season last year. I think they won one game last year. And they won like 2 or 3 games the year before. And I understand that it's not 5-star talent all the way across the board and 4-star talent and everything else. But those players are playing with heart and they're playing with passion and they're playing for the game of football. And for you to walk into a locker room and sit there and say, go ahead and hit the transfer portal because I'm bringing in my own luggage. What does that say to anybody else out there? They have the most transfer portal people that came into. I'm surprised that they got so many people. They got, 60, 70 people from the transfer portal to come in to play for Colorado. But you don't tell the people at that university who's been playing that you need to hit this thing because I'm going to cut you guys anyway. I don't want any of y'all, pretty much. What does that say? That just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like Deion Sanders, and I was growing respect for him. I really was. I didn't like him because of what he did to the Saints when he was looking to sign on, and the Saints made him a contract, and he looked into the camera and he goes, I want to play for a team that's going to win the Super Bowl, and I'm not going to sign with the Aints. So he went to go sign with Atlanta. I'm glad he went to go sign with Atlanta. He didn't do jack shit in Atlanta. And I'm not even talking about what happened in Dallas. So, with all that being said, I'm holding a grudge on Deion Sanders. I pretty much wrote him off again. I was gaining respect for him and everything else. I love what he did with Jackson State University, putting that college on the map, and I really wish he would have stayed and really made that program into an elite talent. With that being said, I'm taking TCU, and I hope TCU just blow the doors off of them. I hope they just beat them just as bad as a redheaded stepchild. I want to see 80 points, maybe 100 points that TCU just scores, and I want to see Colorado have 0. And I'm going to bet against Colorado all season long. So that's my soapbox. I'm off. So, all right, here we go. So I'm taking TCU, and I hope TCU just doesn't let up, just full throttles them and just hammers them down. So TCU minus 20.5. Okay, I'm better now. I got that off my chest. All right, Middle Tennessee at Alabama. Okay, this is a no-brainer. The question is Alabama going to cover that point spread of 39? I really do believe so. I really wish Alabama would play a really serious team in week 1 every year. I know they got Texas coming up, and I'm really looking forward to that game. Alabama does really well covering the spreads, especially in week 1. I think they're going to cover 39. They're going to have a new quarterback coming in. I'm really looking forward to seeing who they're going to implement because they have 2 different quarterbacks that they're going to try out. So this 39 points is going to be quite interesting if they can get to 39 points. But their defense is going to hold them in. Their defense is supposed to be locked in stock. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these 2 quarterbacks play. And it's going to be on September 2nd at 6:30 p.m. So I'm going to take Bama minus 39 to cover that spread. Okay. Next up is the most anticipated game I've been waiting for since the offseason. I've been looking forward to this game since the end of week 1 last year. It's LSU versus Florida State. It's a non-home game between each team. They're actually playing where LSU won against Purdue last year. And I think the score was 60-7. LSU just destroyed Purdue because they didn't have their head coach and stuff. He already left. One thing about I want to say that the NCAA it's really a shame that Mason Smith got hurt last year and he was signing stuff before the NIL and he got caught and he got popped with it. And the other players last year were able to go ahead and take a game last year and sit out that game as a punishment. And they were picking like Sister Mary the Poor to sit out, and it just got completely swept underneath the rug. Well, Mason Smith was celebrating a sack in this game last year against Florida State, tears an ACL. So he can't sit out for a game last year because he was hurt. So what does the NCAA do? Oh, you never sat out a game last year. Not to mention the fact that he was completely hurt and missed the whole entire season. So they're like, you know what? You're out this first game against Florida State. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we don't have to worry about him tearing another ACL celebrating a sack. But if you don't know who Mason Smith is, he is a 5-star talent. He's probably going to go whenever he does decide to go into the NFL. He'd be a first-round pick, probably in the top 10, defensive end, defensive tackle, just depends on where they're going to put him at. He kind of roams around both. Super talented guy, straight from the Bayou of Louisiana. So anyway, LSU played a completely horrible game last year for 3 quarters in that game. They couldn't do anything right. I mean, what plagued them so much last year was special teams, and it plagued them all the way to the championship, SEC championship last year. They addressed that. They made sure that they fixed that. Their biggest question mark is the transfer portal. They transferred in a lot of people in the secondary. So did Florida State. Right now, LSU is ranked number 5. I don't believe in rankings. That's the reason why I don't talk about ratings. LSU is ranked number 5. Florida State's ranked number 7. That doesn't mean a hell of beans. What I find most interesting about this whole entire thing is that Florida State's minus 2.5, and it's a neutral site. And I know it's in Florida. LSU's got a lot of things going for them, and I'm not trying to be a homer. I'm not, because I'm a diehard LSU fan. I go to all as many LSU baseball games, football games, whatever LSU is. I'm a big time LSU fan, but LSU has a team just like 2019 again. It's not going to have an explosive offense. It's not going to be like the 2019 offense. Let me be clear. But they do have Jaden Daniels, who is up for the Heisman. They do have a defense with Harold Perkins, who is just a nightmare. And when Mason Smith comes back, it's going to be a double nightmare. And you have probably 3 first-round talented wide receivers going to be in the draft. You have a whole stable of running backs. The reason why I'm telling you all this is so that way I don't have to tell you this every single week. So I'm giving you the earful now. Florida State is really good too. In fact, when you look at to win the national championship, they're almost neck and neck. If you're looking at the college football future picks for college championship, Florida and LSU are almost neck and neck. So this game means a lot to both teams. LSU played that Florida State game and practiced pretty much every single day this past offseason. So that way they were reminded of how embarrassed they were and how much they lost that game by a point. 1 point. They missed it and it hit the crossbar and it bounced back. That's how close that game was to going into overtime. All right, so I said all I needed to say. No 7s, who do you like? I like LSU. Go figure that. Plus 2.5. I would tell you this much. If LSU loses this game, is their season over? No. Will their chances of going to a football playoffs diminish? Greatly. They would pretty much have to win out the whole entire way. But LSU's talent and what a lot of people are saying, and I'm not going by what everybody else is saying, but this year, it's just like Michigan. LSU, the only people that can beat LSU is LSU themselves. They can beat Alabama and they can beat Georgia. And I really think that it's probably going to be, and I'm not making my prediction until week 3 or week 4 for the national championship, but I really believe that it's probably going to be LSU and Michigan in the college football playoffs. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this game comes out. Florida State is stacked, and I really can't wait to see the Florida State-Clemson game this year. But I really like LSU plus 2.5. And Jaden Daniels, like I said, he's up for the Heisman. So it'd be kind of interesting if this is, because Joe Burrow won the Heisman in his second year with LSU being a transfer. Jaden Daniels, this is his second year, and he's also a transfer. It would be interesting if he wins the Heisman and he goes on to win the national championship. I think we'll start pulling quarterbacks out of transfer portals if that was the case. Moving on, Monday is September 4th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time is Clemson versus Duke. We really don't need to say much. Clemson has the TCU offensive coordinator this year. But I'm really looking forward to seeing this new Clemson offense. They said it's something that we've never seen before. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Don't know if we're going to see much of it versus Duke. But I'm really surprised that Clemson is only minus 13 in this. I would go all the way up to minus 14. If it's anything over minus 14, I wouldn't touch it. But minus 13 is fine. Just like LSU, I would take plus 2.5. I really would like to buy at that point the plus 3 for LSU. But with Clemson, if it's 14 or less, I would take it. If it's 14.5 or more, I will not take it. So let's go ahead, and I'm not even going to talk about it. I've covered a lot with a lot of the other teams. So we're just going to go ahead and take Clemson minus 13. Okay, so it's that time of the year again where we do our big parlay money line. And you guys always comment about no sevens, this thing is horrible, you can't win anything. I know you can't. You can win money, you just don't put up a lot up. Just put like $10, and you make $3 or $4 extra dollars. The only thing you're basically doing is, I don't know, buying a slice of pizza with it or something. It's guaranteed money pretty much, unless you bet on something stupid. But for our money line bet, we're taking Bama, we're taking Clemson, TCU, Michigan, Oklahoma, Baylor, Texas A&M, USC, Texas, Auburn, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and if you want to or not, you don't have to throw in LSU. I threw them in for me. That's who I like to win the game outright. That's my money line pick. They're heavily favored, and like I said, it's you're not going to strike gold with this. It's pretty much a guaranteed win unless something upsetting happens. But it's just your way to throw $10, $20 into the pot, and you make an extra, $3 to $5 or something like that. It's just having fun with it. You don't have to do it. All right. So my big point parlay is Clemson minus 13, Florida minus 4.5, Bama minus 39.5, and LSU minus 2.5. You don't have to take LSU if you don't want to, but that's who I like for my big point parlay. And guys, that's week 1, and really hoping for another great season with you guys. I think it's going to be very magical. Just a lot of great things are moving in the right direction for me right now, and I just want you guys to be a part of it. And I just thank you guys so much for you guys being on the journey with me, and whether it's craps or sports or both. But I always appreciate you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys in week 2 to go over the review and see who we like. And maybe the video won't be so long that time. All right? So no sevens. I'll catch you on the flip side.